It's Boxing Day, and with Boxing Day comes another trigger. I'm sure there's something going on that's really driving people nuts. Isn't this a day that people trample each other? Um, I'm pretty sure we're going to hear about that. Somebody being trampled because we got to get out there and get our bargains, I suppose. So, for those of you that are at home recovering from their turkey and their family and everything else that Christmas is all about, you may be interested in seeing a picture of, let's see. Let's see if we can find a picture here. I thought I would just share this because the other day we were talking about some photos of our family, and I didn't have any because nobody really wants to see that. Oh, and I thought I had it all lined up here. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Let's get that. I'm sure you guys don't really want to see this, but I think it's interesting. Having been around Dr. Judy too much, I guess, because she likes to analyze images, and this is a really good one. This is a classic from my growing up. You might guess that I'm the kid in the middle. Now, my dad's the photographer. He's the guy on the right, and that's a lovely tree, isn't it? It's a bit of a Charlie Brown tree. And my sister was 17 years older than me. There's my brothers, my mom, and the guy whose knee I'm sitting on there, that's my sister's husband. And he's 8 years older than she is in this picture, so people think that he's my dad and she's my mom. But what I really love about this picture is the fact that everybody's looking off to the side. They're all looking off to their left, which would be an instruction that my dad would give. He was a second generation photographer. His dad was a photographer. I noticed if he'd have seen this, he would have gone nuts because there's a little shadow on my sister's face there. But what I love is I just went, why are they all looking off to the left? Their camera's over here. Anyway, it's just a little aside, not really that important. Anyway, it's trigger warning. There's going to be some stuff coming up as far as the Fusion GPS situation and the whole Trump dossier, blah, blah, blah. It's been debunked, but it's still driving me crazy because people are talking about it as though things are really going to move forward in terms of incriminating Trump in this. And people seem not to be able to understand that this is just a setup. And it's clear that the setup has been created for the very purpose of undermining somebody who's not on the inside. So last night I was watching something from about 1991 where Trump was asked to talk to Congress about some of the issues around tax repeal, various issues that the Congress members were asking him about. And I thought, he comes across as being a real expert on the economy. And here are these Congress members that are asking him for ideas about how we might be able to fix the economy and get things back on track. And I'm going to put that up one of these days. I'm going to actually edit it down because it's brilliant. And anybody that hasn't seen that and talks about how Trump doesn't have experience will have an education. That's all I can really say about that. You can check it out. You might be able to find it online. Anyway, this is George Webb's Twitter feed, and I just thought I'd point this out to everybody today because it's sometimes a better way of getting the information sort of synthesized than going and checking out all of his videos. So for anybody that hasn't heard about George Webb, he's the guy that's going to go down in history as being ahead of the curve on all of this stuff. So he's at TruthLeaks on Twitter, and it's difficult to kind of get things up to speed. So all I can say is go on to Twitter, check it out. You might want to go on to a YouTube channel. You can check out my interview with him from I think it was May 9th. Oh, there we go. I pushed the wrong button. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm going to get my goal for the new year is to really get acclimatized to the new system that I've got here. I used to use a very old fashioned broadcast system because I've been using it for decades. And now I've kind of updated and it should be easier. But surprisingly enough, there's a bit of a learning curve and sometimes I kind of blow it. So I'll try to keep that one in mind for future reference. Okay, so this is just going to be a short one because I just want more and more people to know about what's going on in terms of this so-called Russian collusion and what's really happening in terms of Mueller, McCabe, and all the others over there at the CIA, FBI, because undoubtedly there are going to be people that say, oh yeah, now Trump's going to go after the FBI. Of course he is, because they're looking into his collusion with Russia and he's got to detract from that. That's BS. And it's a way of just keeping people on the false narrative. So I can only highly suggest that you go over and check out George. There are other people talking about this, but I'm telling you, George is going to be the one who truly goes down in history as the one who cracks the case, because he's been talking about things that are finally coming out in the news for months now. And he's put together the pieces. Now, there's this picture that I was going to show. I will show right here. So this is called How the Left Engineered a Fake Russia-Trump Connection. And it's kind of difficult to understand even then. But I like his comments. It's one of the more colorful fusion GPS graphics. I prefer the timeline approach. Show me the missing 112 transactions and I'll show you the spy ring. So he's got the whole spy ring kind of figured out. This is a little bit of a kind of a crazy graphic to see an overview here of how who the major players are and how things work. So the tweets to draw attention to the fake Russia connection, that's an important thing, because a lot of people talk about Trump and his tweets. Well, there's been a lot of people that have been tweeting to frame him, and a lot of his tactics and tweeting back have had to do with getting the message out without having to go through the mainstream media. And it makes total sense when you listen to the mainstream media and you hear the kind of crap that they're disseminating. So he's got, what I love about George is he works with evidence, and he's got evidence galore. And a lot of people might know that he's actually doing a bunch of lawsuits at one time. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's got a lot of help in the background, I think. Just a lot of people who are going to be, that are being served with subpoenas and that sort of thing. And he's just taken this on himself, and he and his crowdsourced community. And it's all going to come to a head because the court case, I believe, is at the beginning of January. It could be January 5th. I could be wrong about that. But anyway, he's getting ready for that. And people are freaking out. We're talking about people like Podesta, Wasserman Schultz, Clinton herself, the DNC. They're all going to have to be involved. And the thing about this is that there's discovery. And for those of you that haven't done a court case, you won't know, but you'll learn that discovery is the way that you literally discover the facts. You have to disclose the information that is relevant to the case. And a lot of what happens in court cases is that the discovery comes forward, and sometimes people will say, hey, you know what, let's not go to court because I don't really want to have to put forward any of this discovery. So that's the beauty of a court case, not just the fact that you're taking someone to court. I don't think he's even asking for money. He's just trying to blow the lid off of this thing. So I encourage you to do that. Now, I know that it's Boxing Day, and I get that it's not the best day to talk about things that are not happy and joyful, but there could be people out there that are not necessarily happy and joyful. this isn't going to really help. But as I've called this trigger alert for a good reason, because there's certain things that are they trigger people. And as much as I hate that expression, I just thought, you know what, we'll just go with it, because everything seems to be a trigger these days. So I've just decided to go the other direction and say, well, here's a trigger and there's an alert, and don't watch if you're not interested, because there's going to be, if you take offense easily, it's probably not a good channel for you to be on. If you want more in the way of real information, the kind that Dr. Judy and Stephen and Jay Widener and all the different people I've had on the show have disseminated, then it'll be a good time for all. Okay, let me just double check this. Okay, I'm just double checking. There we go. Okay. One day this will be like water off a duck's back. It'll be so perfect. It'll be so easy. Okay, so this is the one, and I'm going to be talking about this more in the new year. I'm going to be talking about some of the issues around abortion, and that's going to really be a trigger. So be warned, be aware. But there's some stuff that really needs to be talked about. There are things that are just still completely off the table in terms of being able to talk about it. Okay, so some people might not be surprised by this. December 26, 2017. This is from Reuters. I don't know how I always say Reuters, but that's probably wrong. But you get it. They're the old standby when it comes to news. And usually in the old days, we used to be able to get this straight off the press as you go to Reuters, and you'd be able to get the straight story without the bias. I don't think that's true anymore. But anyway, the story itself is of importance because a lot of people don't understand that there is such a thing as organ harvesting. They don't understand that people are trafficking in human body parts. And one of the most disgusting things that people do is they deal in fetuses. And it's because the reason that this is so disgusting is because when we take away the sanctity of life, the very basis of our life, regardless of where you think that life begins, when we start trading human bodies or body parts, especially in a warehousing kind of way and a way that is not sanctioned, then we've really gone farther than I ever thought we would go. Maybe I thought we would go this far, but I fear for humankind, when this sort of thing is happening. So federal agents discovered 4 preserved fetuses in the Detroit warehouse of a man who sold human body parts. Confidential photographs reviewed by Reuters show. Okay, you can see this on their site, Reuters.com, if you want to. I'm going to quickly go by the pictures because I'm not interested in sensationalizing any of this stuff. The fetuses were found during a December 2013 raid of the businessman Arthur Rathburn's warehouse. Now, the reason that this is important is because the trial is set for January. He's pleaded not guilty, but his trial's coming up in January. And they're not sure about how he acquired the fetuses or what he intended to do with them. But as U.S. Representative Marsha Blackburn says, a Republican from Tennessee who recently chaired a special U.S. House committee on the use of fetal tissue, which I had no idea that there was such a thing. This needs to be reviewed, she says, and surely it does. Blackburn recoiled when a Reuters reporter showed her some of the photographs taken by government officials involved in the raid. So let's just slide down there and pass there. So her call for action came in response to a Reuters series that exposed abuses in the human body trade and what Blackburn called lax oversight and lax enforcement of the industry. Photos from inside Rathburn's warehouse offered a stark example of government failures to police the industry. They include images of rotting human heads, some floating face up in a plastic cooler. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, which has been investigating Rathburn and other body brokers, declined to comment. Well, just as well. So, was able to purchase 3. Yeah, so what they did is they were able to purchase 2 human heads and a cervical spine for $900 plus shipping. It's sickening how easily Restore Life sold the parts to routers, Blackburn said. So Restore Life is the company name. A broker in Tennessee. So I just want to bring this to your attention. It's one of those things that I think we're going to be seeing more and more, because as we devalue life in any way, and I think it starts with abortion, it goes right through to euthanasia. These are definitely Nazi tactics. When anybody wants to talk about Nazis, take a look at what they were doing, not just in the death camps, but in the German population generally. And I'm not necessarily just picking on the Germans, because I believe that this has been done in every country in the world. And when the German contingent came to North America via Operation Paperclip, I believe that they just carried on the kind of research they were doing. So any of this kind of stuff that was perpetuated through that kind of research is just becoming more and more mainstream now, and it should never become mainstream. So I just wanted to point that out and just do a very short update on George Webb. And I will be putting together some more information that will make it a little bit more clear. I'm behind because of Christmas, and that's okay, because you're probably not that interested in what's going on in George Webb's world right now. But I do believe that you need to get up to date and to be prepared to be able to answer people who are still on the Russian narrative, and to be able to point them in the proper direction. So I want to create a resource for that. So this is it for Trigger Alert today, and I hope to see you in the next couple of days. I'll be back online, and we'll be talking about some other issues with my guests, and we will be, of course, creating some sort of controversy or confusion with some of the issues that are brought up, but all based hopefully in evidence and in the truth. And we're hoping that if we get to the truth will actually set us free as we go forward into the new year. God bless all of you, and have a very happy Boxing Day, whatever is left of it in your area. And I hope that you're enjoying your time with family and friends.